Hey, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. I know this webinar is not on a Thursday, but on a Wednesday, but appreciate, you all joining. We have an excellent session today. Excellent session. We welcome Erik Bruhnke, who is joining us from Minnesota, Duluth, Minnesota. And Erik would be talking about raptor identification. And Erik, you have been here at the refuge as we were just talking. So we love hearing, if you can make some connections to the refuge, what raptors you have seen at the refuge. And then Erik also mentioned that he has a quiz at the very end. So it's a very interactive session. There will be a quiz at the end. Plus, Erik is open to questions, so if during the session, if you have any questions, just type them in. Tara, who is co-host with me today, both of us will be moderating the session, and then we can take your questions. We'll let Erik, you finish, like if you were talking about a raptor, we'll, maybe let you finish those couple of slides that you have, and then bring those questions up for you.
Wonderful, wonderful.
All right. No, we welcome you. Thank you so much. Please take it away. We are looking forward to this session.
Awesome. Thank you, TJ. And
Yeah.
thank you, everyone, for being here tonight or this afternoon, depending on the time zone of where you're viewing. So my name is Erik, like TJ said. I live in Duluth, Minnesota, where I've spent most of my adult life, post-college and college life. And my, I love birds. I love bird watching of all sorts, and in particular, hawk watching captivated my heart earlier on when I was getting into birding years ago. And every year, I feel fortunate to give various raptor identification workshops in different areas. And what you're about to see over this next 50-ish minute time frame is a raptor identification guide geared specifically to where you are viewing in Ohio. These are raptors that are found in different areas of Ohio. Some are going to be maybe a little more regional. Could be in the northern Lake Erie part, could be in the southern mountains. But basically, any raptor that you're about to see is found in Ohio throughout the year. Other thing, just to share, I take a lot of pride personally in kind of creating my own anecdotes and just love being a teacher. And I also do some photography on the side. So every photo that you're about to see during my presentation are from field experiences of my own. So these are my own pictures too that I'm so excited to share with all of you. And as we're getting started, just making sure, can everyone see this full frame?
Yes, I can see the raptor identification 101.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. So again, welcome everyone. This first raptor, and you'll learn about all the different raptors coming up. This first raptor is a juvenile Cooper's hawk. And Cooper's hawks are a raptor of the deep woods or kind of the patchy woods. Could even be your backyard if you have a few trees here and there. They like backyards for the bird feeders, but not for the bird seed, if you know what I mean. They're primarily a songbird eater. And they're a really special and sometimes underappreciated bird because they are found in such a widespread array of habitats. So this is a juvenile Cooper's hawk, lengthy, slender wings, slender, call it hands, kind of out to the wingtip, slendered hands, pretty long tail, and lots of vertical streaking down the front. All right. So now we're going to look at raptors. We're going to look at raptors a little differently. Like, how do we know that this is a juvenile sharp-shinned hawk? And I assure you that we're going to be covering all sorts of fun little things, some anecdotes, some catchphrases, some words of wisdom, I guess you could say. Some come from the field guides and field experiences. Some might even go a little bit beyond as far as fun ways to learn about raptors. So this raptor in particular, like I said, sharp-shinned hawk, they're stocky in all regards. They are small, but you can't go by size, right? Whenever you see a bird in flight, can everyone attest to that? When you see a lone bird in flight, telling size is challenging. But one thing that's constant with all raptors is the profile. So a sharp-shinned hawk is going to be small-headed, a little shorter tailed than a Cooper's hawk, and shorter handed as well. We'll get into all this raptors and stuff momentarily. So for this first slide, oh, here we go. For this first slide, This is a buteo. Buteos are the wide-winged, short-tailed raptors. And notice what you see. And maybe notice what you don't see or what you think should be there, but that's not there. So any ideas as of what this bird might be? You're welcome to type it in, or I'm a fun, casual kind of guy. You're welcome to unmute for a moment and chime in too if you're any thoughts on this. This is my photo, but like I said, this one's a little tricky because I intentionally made it fly through the fog where you lose a sense of color. So this bird right here is, oh, perfect. Donna and Kenda. Nice, nice. This is a red-tailed hawk. And Bill, nice. And Teresa, we'll talk about that one coming up in a little bit. So this is a red-tailed hawk. Has a belly band that all red-tailed hawks in Ohio should show. They also have two other field marks, and that is patagial marks, which are like the shoulder patches, and then what they call the wrist comma. So if I'm a red-tailed hawk holding my wing out, note where my wrist is right here. You see a little bloop, 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 that little crescent of darkness in the outer third of the bird's wings. All red-tailed hawks will have that. So thick, heavy wings, shoulder pads called patagial mark, wrist comma. You got a red-tailed hawk. Note the red tail, but not all red-tailed hawks have red tails. That's only in the adult birds. And one more, just to show again in black and white. Notice what you see and notice what you don't see. All right. So here we have another red-tailed hawk migrating by, and this one you can really see the red tail, the beautiful, bright. It's almost like a glowing brick color, really, really sharp color that they have. And so this is an adult red-tailed hawk. Now we're gonna go a little bit deeper, just a little bit, not too much, but a little bit. So the size of a raptor, you can only tell the size of a bird in flight if you have something else to compare it to. Like, let's say that you see a flock of birds together. You can maybe get a sense of how big those birds are if you know what if the other birds are. If you see a lone bird flying by, you can't go by size, but you can go by two things. You can go by the shape and the behavior, both of which are, here we go. Sorry, computer's going a little slow. Shape. So shape is constant, whether you look at a speck way far away or whether something in your backyard, the shape of that bird will always be the same. Does everyone know what I'm talking about with that? Shape is constant, size is not. Size is perceived. So on the left, we have a peregrine falcon, very pointy winged, built for stealth and agility. On the right, we have a northern harrier. Wings and tails structured and built for going over meadows and fields. Next, we'll talk about wing shape. So some birds are very thick-winged, and some are slender-winged, or what they call shallow-winged. And here's a bald eagle chasing an osprey. In the world of raptors, bald eagles, they're incredibly cool. They're so beautiful. And also, too, if you've ever been to the Ottawa National Wildlife Refuge, it's almost impossible to make the wildlife drive without seeing at least one, if not a handful. You know, they're quite prevalent. They're regular nesters, just an all-around cool bird. And in some ways, they're kind of bullies, in that they look for other birds for easy pickings, like an osprey that's carrying a fish, which this osprey had for a short while before it dropped it. He had a flying fish moment, and you know the rest of the story, how the bald eagle got the fish. So, but notice how the wings are held on this osprey. It's way far out. But can everyone see how it has an M profile? They call that bowed wings. So whether you see this osprey at a mile away or flying maybe just barely over a parking lot approaching you, that shape is going to be constant. The how big or how small, that will not be constant. So focus on shape and you will actually start to see and appreciate raptors differently after my talk. How about this bald eagle? See how the wings are relatively level? almost like a plank of wood. Definitely not arched like an osprey. And then this one right here. Here's a golden eagle. They're found kind of mountainous areas of Ohio. Definitely an uncommon treat to see. So golden eagles, a little more upturned to the wings, just a little, just a little. And who here has seen turkey vultures? Show of hands. Who here likes turkey vultures? Raise them high. They're un they're an underappreciated bird. And I think they know that they're really cool too. You know, they're just everyone says, "Oh, it's just a turkey vulture." They keep the roads clean. They do a good job at that. They're scavengers. They do the environment a lot of good. Their inner gut is so acidic, they actually act as a filtering agent for a lot of harmful viruses and bacteria. So even down to what they eat, they're a really beneficial animal to have around. Here in northern Minnesota, we only see them during basically mid-spring through about mid-fall, but they leave exclusively for the winter because they don't do very well with their bare heads and how cold it gets. All right, so we're going to be talking about these different varieties of raptors that you see on the left. And this is kind of to keep things a little organized as far as the batches of raptors that we're going to cover. Once again, these are all raptors that can be found throughout Ohio. And on the right, in case you're wondering, that's a juvenile peregrine falcon, built for stealth and agility and swiftness. Really sleek, sharp profile, good for flying fast. So again, just one of the more common raptors that we've talked about already is the red-tailed hawk. Everyone see the belly band, patagial mark, wrist comma. Everyone got that from this angle? All right. This is an adult. And then for comparison, we have adult red-tailed hawk on the left and a juvenile red-tailed hawk on the right. So this is a good example. Notice what you see, notice what you don't see. And the shape can vary a little bit depending on how they're banking, how they're flying and maneuvering through the air. But regardless, especially in Ohio and throughout the Midwest, much of the Midwest, I should say, when you see a raptor with the shoulder pads, wrist comma patagial mark, even on a lightly marked juvenile like on the right without that red tail, it's going to be a red-tailed hawk. And I have a few slides here and there just to show how beautiful certain raptors can be that may or may not apply to specifically Ohio. This slide in particular, I just want to show, they're one of my all-time favorite raptors. They're another one I think is sometimes underappreciated because they are, you know, on most roadsides, they're a very common raptor. I just want to show how variable red-tailed hawks can be. Like this dark morph red-tailed hawk in the upper left, or in the upper right, this form is called Kreider's red-tailed hawk. That's how a lot of them look in North Dakota, like in the middle of the prairies. At the local hawk watching site here in Duluth called Hawk Ridge, we get large numbers of how they look in the bottom left. That's a Canadian form of red tail. And then in the bottom right, this is how many of them look up in Alaska called Harlan's red-tailed hawk. Again, there's a fun quiz coming up, but I assure you we're not going to go over red-tailed hawk finesse, just something to appreciate with their complexity. Well, dark morph always have a red tail. Juvenile red-tailed hawks will have kind of a lighter banded tail, not a glowing or as intense of a red tail. And Marie, it gets pretty tricky even among the different regional varieties, but the adults are the ones with the red tails to answer your question. Okay, so now we're getting to some of the raptors that make long migrations. They are beautiful, Chelsea. So here we'll start off with broad-winged hawk. So who here has seen a broad-winged hawk? If you haven't, that's cool. We're going to start off with this. So broad-winged hawks, they're a smaller cousin of the red-tailed hawk. Okay, so they're more compact in all regards. Many of them migrate from various forests throughout kind of the central and eastern U.S., throughout much of Canada, actually, and they'll often find their way down into Central America for the winter months. And as they fly around with shorter wings, they're going to flap faster. So that's a field mark of them. Behavior is a field mark, something to take home. If you can only take home a few things from my entire talk, this afternoon? Behavior is a field mark. And behavior comes when you do bird watching, not glimpse at a bird, assume its identification, and look away. If you know what I mean, it's kind of a holistic thing to look for, but really, especially with raptors and a lot of birds, when you watch birds and focus on their behavior, that can be a clue. Broad-winged hawks will always be quicker and snappier with their wing beats than red-tailed hawks because they're shorter winged. Also, this is the same bird, just different angles as it flew by. Notice how pointy the wings are. More tapered, more angular, sharper pointed. Can everyone see that on this broad-winged hawk versus the red-tailed hawk that I showed earlier? Now you're thinking like hawk watchers. So here's another broad-winged hawk. And again, broad-winged hawks, one of the field marks is that their field marks are kind of hard to see. They don't really have as many well-defined markings throughout their body. The juveniles in particular like this. They got light streaks on the front, but when you look at it initially, you think, what stands out about this bird? That alone can be a clue for telling this is a broad-winged hawk, in addition to the wings, wing shape, tail length. Here's an adult broad-winged hawk. This is the more classic ones that is easier to learn. By the time, let's see here, for Ohio, usually throughout May is going to be a good time to see broad-winged hawks. And with the broad-winged hawks, when they're migrating through, look for a very straight edge along the back, or what they call trailing edge of the wing. Can everyone see that? They're relatively straight. They don't have a big, thick sail-like profile the way the red-tailed hawks do. And then a banded tail of black and white is a good feature to look for with these adults. I want you to brace yourself for a moment because this happens sometimes at the right hawkwatches. And this is called a kettle, Kettle, like you're boiling water in a kettle. And this is a photo taken at Hawk Ridge, the local hawkwatch here in Duluth on the edge of Lake Superior where I live. And I confirmed just for teaching reasons that every single raptor in this is a broad-winged hawk from its shape. But just to show you, they can form little groups. And if you're at the right hawkwatch, they can even form really big groups called kettles. So it's a really cool raptor in that regard. Some raptors form little groups or migrate pretty much solitary. Broad-winged hawks, I don't want to say that they're social, but they definitely congregate in these gatherings when the land masses and the water masses funnel them in migration. All right, so next we'll get to the rough-legged hawks. Rough-legged hawks, really cool raptor. This is a raptor that you probably shouldn't be seeing anymore for the bulk of the year up until much later, basically towards the end of this year. Rough-legged hawks nest in the Arctic tundra, so way up north in the land of no trees and cliffs and just a fascinatingly far northern landscape. And when they come down in migration, they basically are winter residents. So they're well insulated. They're unusually fluffy and beautiful in their own way, down to the legs. That's where the name comes from. Rough-legged hawk, very feathered legs, and it adds insulation to when they're here during the snowy months. So they're really cool. Suddenly we see this bird, and it looks quite different than some of the other raptors we've seen, right? So this is one other bird that doing my best to not overwhelm because there's males, females. I got a bunch of different looking appearances within the species. But basically, for some rough-legged hawks, in the wintertime, when you're all bundled up with your mittens and gloves and you're outside and you're looking for that snowy owl in the fields or, the snow buntings around, rough-legged hawks are going to be around during that time. And if you see a large boodio with some degree of a thick tail band, maybe a little or maybe a lot of tail bands, and some degree of a thick belt, like a full band going across the underbelly, that's going to be a rough-legged hawk throughout Ohio. And sometimes it's kind of variable. Some are heavily marked, some are lightly marked, but we don't need to worry about that. But just to show their shape overall, they're similar to a red-tailed hawk. They have varying degrees of black bands at the end of their tail, and they're really beautiful in their own way too. So they come in a light morph and a dark morph. And look at those little feet. at the upper part of the feet. See how the feathers drape all the way down to where the ankle starts? They really are built for the cold, and for them to be outside, even during, heavy snow and maybe even a blizzard, they'll hunker down. They'll still find mice and voles in the wild, and they truly are incredible raptors. This is a wintertime bird for Ohio, rough-legged hawk.
What is the
Next,
band that he's talking about? Edna Tail?
so next we'll talk about red. Oh, nice, Gideon, nice. So next we'll talk about red-shouldered hawks. And red-shouldered hawks, this is a bird that is found through most of Ohio. And this is a bird I'm pretty envious of that all of you who are in Ohio have a good chance of seeing throughout much of the year. This is a bird super, super rare in northern Minnesota, specifically northern Minnesota where I live. They like riparian areas, so wherever the woods meet up with rivers, or maybe kind of closer to shore, wherever you have some degree of saturated ground/water mixing with the woods, you're going to have frogs and lizards. And Teresa has blue jays that mimic that red-shouldered call, like, deer. Teresa knows what I'm talking about. Yeah. And they're such a cool raptor, but where I live in a different biome, kind of a northern boreal forest. Where all of you live, this is home sweet home to red-shouldered hawks. So keep your eyes out when you're walking through the woods. There's a wide variety of Toledo Metro parks. You know, the local Toledo Metro parks in the area. A lot of those, you have a chance of seeing red-shouldered hawks, especially, and hearing them too. I know Oak Openings is one of my favorite places. Oh, and TJ, Oak Openings is one of my favorite places as well to look for them. So just want to share. It's a beautiful raptor. Adult on the left. Note the belly bands, or sorry, the tail bands. On the right is a juvenile. And one thing that's similar about both of them, I want you to take maybe 1 or 2 feet back from your screen for a moment and look at their wrist area. If they could be wearing a watch, just say birds wear watches, I guess, for this talk. Can all of you see how they're ever so slightly paler in the watch area? Everyone see that? It's very subtle. There's a little bit of a transparent crescent just before the tips, but in the outer wrist. And that is a feature that all red-shouldered hawks have, regardless of old or young. Okay, so here's another picture, or 2 pictures from my travels. Adult red-shouldered hawk on the left, juvenile red-shouldered hawk on the right. And they're kind of a tricky one. They're kind of in between a broad-winged hawk and a red-tailed hawk in profile. Note that crescents, though. Keeping it simple. Note the crescents in the wings, and that can be a clue for identifying the red-shouldered hawks. Habitat is good too, though. Keep in mind riparian areas. That's some of their favorite areas for dwelling. So next we have bald eagle, and he's kind of doing the think here. He's like, how long is Eric going to be talking about all these raptors? I think he says, yeah. So this is an adult bald eagle, at least 5 years of age. Bald eagles experienced 1, 2, 3, about 4 years of age before they look like this classic adult white-headed, white-tail, brown-bodied bald eagle. So there's not going to be a quiz on aging them. This is something that healthily obsessed hawk watchers and raptor enthusiasts like to do, this kind of stuff where you age them. We're not going to go into that, but just notice how different this bald eagle looks right here versus the previous picture. Note those differences. Got a freckled belly. The head is very different. This bird in particular even has a 2-tone tail of black and white. Pretty cool, huh? Here's another young bald eagle. And I want to share a little secret with you. A little secret. If you're looking at faraway flying eagle, let's say that you want to impress your friends, and it's kind of could be a young bald eagle, could be a golden eagle, but you're just not sure. We'll go into those differences momentarily. Can everyone see how this eagle, if it was to apply deodorant, see how it's like pale in that area? Just in the inner wing pit area. Everyone see that? Young bald eagles can show that. Golden eagles, regardless of age, do not show pale wing pits. So cool little trick from the hawk watching books. Little thing for you. And I don't advise putting deodorant on raptors anyways, but yeah, that's an important area to look for if you're trying to tell young bald eagle versus golden eagle. Again, for comparison, just two more pictures of beautiful bald eagles as they migrated through Hawk Ridge. Adult bald eagle on the left and a juvenile bald eagle on the right. Look at how different they are. Isn't that cool?
I mean, you wouldn't pick that out as a bald eagle.
Yeah, we never would have, ever.
No. That's why we're going over the pointers here. And Chelsea mentions Toledo Zoo has 2 adults and a juvenile if you want to see a difference up close. That's really cool, Chelsea. Thank you. That's great. All right. So next we're getting to golden eagle. So golden eagle, they're more of a cooler weather visitor throughout Ohio. Definitely a rarer treat to see throughout the state, but possible. And golden eagles and bald eagles, even for long-going enthusiasts, they are notorious for just being tricky all around. And one thing I want you to look at with this picture, and we'll go over some things to solidify this, but look at that back edge of the wings. See how they're really gracefully curvy and they almost kind of taper into the body? Does everyone see that? The trailing edge or rear edge of the wings. So that can be a clue.
Yeah. Okay.
Another feature is the size of the head and the length of the tail. This is very finesse little stuff. Golden eagles are smaller headed and longer tailed than bald eagles are. We'll get into that momentarily. So again, here's 2 pictures of golden eagles in flight. And look at that back edge of the wing. See how it kind of tapers up into that wing pit area? And look at the head, look at the tail. Little thing I came up with this past fall, actually, when I was in teaching mode and trying to come up with new idea mode up at Hawk Ridge. If a bald eagle tried to turn into a turkey vulture, but got stuck halfway, shape-wise, you'd end up with a golden eagle. Again, it's a quirky, silly little thing. And if you look at the shapes and you kind of morph them together, but you stop halfway, golden eagles are not far off from halfway between a bald eagle and a turkey vulture, shape-wise. So one more picture of a golden eagle flying by. And Chelsea, looking that up right now.
Huh, that's interesting.
So golden eagles, migration is what Sibley's is showing. And it would be possibly on the southeast side and on the far northern side. They're not a common bird, like I said, at all. It would definitely be like a rare treat, but they are possible within the state. So again, this is a lower likelihood species, but something to still keep an eye out for. Oh, nice, Paul. Nice, my friend. They're going over northwestern Ohio right now, so they are possible for sure. Thanks for that, Paul.
Yeah, Toledo Botanical Garden is a good place to go see them sometimes.
Nice. That's great. And in October, cool. So, and they're definitely a cold weather raptor. Another thing to share with everyone, little thing I'm going to share with all of you. This definitely is not in typical field guides. This is a kind of a self-learned, among other hawk watchers, little treat. When you look at bald eagles versus golden eagles in flight, you can tell them with a lot of practice by how they fly. So I'm going to be a bald eagle for a second, okay? So when a bald eagle flaps its wings, they appear very heavy wings. So they're flapping, and the last wing beat always ends on the downbeat. Okay, so flap, flap. It's like this little 1 degree of, everyone see that? And notice my wing is straight across. Now I'm going to flap like a golden eagle. Look at how fluid my wing beats are, and look at how I hold my wing at the end. I'll flap again. I'm trying to do this to make sure I'm reading the screen right too. So golden eagle ends with the upbeat, and they hold the wings a little bit above horizontal. Like, that's one of the things that makes, if you've seen golden eagles, or if you're looking for them and you happen to see them, something is ever so slightly more graceful and elegant and just swooping about a golden eagle. What causes that is they are more graceful wing, like flappers, but especially when they bring the wings to a holding position, they hold them above horizontal and they always end with the upbeat. never with the
Right.
downbeat.
Hmm.
So cool little tools of the trade for you. So here's a picture of bald eagle and golden eagle side by side. So finesse little things. But if you took a bald eagle's head and tail, don't worry about wings right now. Took a head and a tail, and you pulled them through the body, where you shrunk the head and you made the tail longer.
Yeah.
You'd end up with the proportions of a golden eagle. It's very subtle. Can everyone see what I'm talking about with these two pictures? Very subtle. And now you know. Now you know. Also, now we know that this is like raptors in particular. This takes a lot of practice to get a grasp of what's there. But the more, like with birding, the more that you do hawk watching in different places, even just seeing the casual raptor flying around, and after this talk too, you'll have a greater array of ideas and tools of the trade on how to look at raptors. And my goal is to make it how to look at raptors differently in a fun and appreciable way. So next we'll talk about osprey. So osprey are a really cool raptor. They leave for the cold months because there's no fish around. You know, it's all frozen over. And when they return in the spring, it's always a highlight. You know, when they're first arriving, because they're going to be going after fish that are suddenly more available near the surface, and they build these big gnarly nests. As you can see, it's like a big massive entanglement. It works for them. It works just fine. In fact, that's how they prefer to build their nests. So here is an osprey flying by. And notice how they hold the fish. They always hold the fish head first. And that's not because they want to give the fish a tour. That's actually because the fish are more aerodynamic that way. So if you're an osprey and you hold the fish like this, there's a lot of drag that's going on. If you hold a fish like this and go straight through, it's a lot easier for them to fly long distances.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are pretty smart. Yeah, they are. So here we have another picture of an osprey flying through. Notice the black mask in an osprey. When you're an osprey, you spend your entire life around water, from where you're raised, where you migrate to. Like the Gulf of Mexico is a major place for osprey, and the rivers that connect and go down to the Gulf of Mexico. A lot of ospreys funnel down these waterways. And when you're a bird that spends your entire life around osprey or near water, having some glare reduction is going to work in your benefit, right? So osprey have black around the face for the same reason that football players and baseball players have smudge on the cheeks. It reduces glare. Do bald eagles also hold fish pair? I don't know, Laura. Bald eagles, they're like I've witnessed them catching fish. I've witnessed them catching fish in midair that osprey have dropped, and they don't seem to really futz. I think bald eagles may be more generous, but I'm not sure specifically. All right, next we have turkey vulture. Oh, TJ, it's for recording to your computer.
No, I was just
I'm
getting
not
this
sure.
message, Eric. I wasn't sure, maybe you're not requesting that, right? For request, I can decline it, right?
It's okay. It's okay.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. For next one, we'll talk about turkey vultures. Turkey vultures. And again, turkey vultures are really cool raptors. They have a dihedral. They keep our roads clean. And they're very two-toned with their wings. Big, heavy sail-like wings, good for soaring around. When you have such a large surface area to their wings, they're able to get a lot of updrafts, a lot of lift from the sun heating up the ground. Those are called thermals that they ride on. And one neat thing about turkey vultures is that they form these large groups and they kind of move around back and forth. Turkey vultures have an enlarged olfactory lobe. That's part of the brain that allows for smell. And their studies have shown that they're actually able to smell from considerable distances. So For as weird as this might sound, if you have, let's just say, a dead deer, it's been outside for a day or two, that's kind of like brownies out of the oven to a human. This in a different context. So, but again, everyone's got to eat, and they are super important. And also, and I know the Friends of Ottawa, all of you talk about this regularly at your location, but for anyone who is like a hunter out there or a fisher, using lead-free tackle or lead-free ammo, it goes a long way by not introducing lead into the environment. Turkey vultures' lives are spared by that. Bald eagles in particular, they eat a lot of roadkill from time to time and even go after fish. And if there's lead in the fish and the deer, that can work its way into these predators. So again, just want to say as a shout out, an obligatory conservation shout out, if you happen to be a hunter or fisherman, please refrain from using any source of lead. There's a reason why it's outlawed in our houses too, from paints and things. So we can make a difference, and it's what we don't do. And I just heard a late afternoon chickadee calling outside, so I think the chickadee agrees with what I said. So yeah. Next, we'll talk about black vultures. Black vultures are really cool. This is another bird. There's only a few records in the history of northern Minnesota where I live. And to find these in Ohio, you basically have to go down to I think it's the Appalachian area, the far southern area. More mountains, more ridges, more of their preferred habitat. And they're a smaller cousin of the turkey vulture. So notice on the black vultures, they have the pale jazz hands. They know they're cool, so they always fly around with the pale jazz hands. Whereas turkey vultures are very two-toned. Everyone see that two-toned through the length of the wings on the left? Another feature about black vultures is that when they flap, remember we talked about behavior, they're very quick and snappy when they flap. They almost appear like they're trying to catch up or they're hurrying. Turkey vultures are super smooth and slow and graceful with the wing beats. So here we have two pictures of black vultures. Super, super short tail. They almost appear tailless when they fly around. Pale jazz hands. They're really cool. And then here is a picture. This is just kind of a lucky photo at when I was counting raptors in South Texas for a season. Turkey vultures fly with a dihedral. That's the V shape or the upturned wings. Black vultures are straight across. Everyone see that in the picture? It's subtle, but black vultures are going to be planar. Turkey vultures have a dihedral. Next, we'll talk about northern harriers, the beautiful. That's right, Paul. That's right. Juvenile. So Paul was just mentioning blackhead doesn't always mean black vulture. Juvenile turkey vultures. A lot of people think of turkey vultures as always having red heads. When they're juveniles, their first little window of life as young birds, they actually will have dark gray or black heads. And as they mature, the turkey vultures will turn, or their heads will turn bright red that they're known for. So thank you for mentioning that too, Paul. It's a great thing to note for getting into the raptor specifics. Now we have Northern Harrier, which if you have an older field guide on a coffee table, you might read of it as a marsh hawk. Used to be called a marsh hawk. Northern Harriers are a really beautiful raptor, known for deep bounding wing beats. They look like they're bouncing basketballs with the wingtips. Little thing I made up a few years ago. So when they flap their wings, they smack down with the wingtips and the whole wing bounds up. Everyone see that? I'm a Northern Harrier, just for a moment. So bouncing basketballs with the wingtips, you got Northern Harrier. All Northern Harriers will have a white rump, regardless of young, old, male or female. Here we have an adult male Northern Harrier. They're very, very beautiful in their own way. They have a lot of white on their undersides, gray in the back, and some people call them gray ghosts. It's one of the nicknames for them. I meant to I passed this up earlier. Just wanted to show some of the younger Northern Harriers too. They can get this beautiful kind of ochre color. For the coffee drinkers out there, some people call it pumpkin spice, to each their own. But it's a beautiful, intense kind of a buffy orange color that the young ones get. They really are beautiful raptors, aren't they? They're marsh specialists where they live. And next we'll talk about some of the raptors of the woods. These are close relatives of each other's. As of last year, there's been some finicky kind of adjusting of how they're related, but we're going to focus on the middle raptor and the right raptor for this talk. From the right, we have sharp-shinned hawk. Middle, we have the Cooper's hawk. And then this next one would be super rare for Ohio for the most part. That's an American goshawk, but we're going to hold off on that one. We'll start off small first. Here's a sharp-shinned hawk migrating by. Tiny head, has some wing length, but the wings are not bootio-like. Like the wings don't spread beyond the body and then some more, like in an eagle-like fashion. Does everyone know what I'm talking about? The wings come off a little bit, but they're not eagle-winged relative to the body. And the tail has corners, like here, like here. Pretty cornered tail, squared off tail, tiny head, sharp-shinned hawk. And when a sharp-shinned hawk is in flight, this is a trick that a lot of hawk watchers use for identifying sharp-shinned hawks in particular, because they're compact, or because they're small, which they are, but because they're compact, they fly with very fluttery wing beats. So when they circle around, they flap, 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 glide, flap, 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 glide, and they're quite fluttery and quick flapping when they choose to flap. So here's some photos of mine from over the years. Pretty squared, angular tail, pretty tiny head, all things considered. And if these were to be animated, it would be super fluttery when they fly. Next, we have a Cooper's hawk. These are the fierce ones, the fierce, larger, kind of a cousin of the sharp-shinned hawk. These are the ones in particular. Sharp-shinned hawks could be in your backyard, especially in the summer months, and more so year-round if you see a kind of a long-tailed raptor in your yard. Could be this guy right here. This is a Cooper's hawk. They have lots of streaks down the front as juveniles. Beautiful, beautiful brown complexion. Getting ahead of myself. The head extends beyond the shoulders. Wings come out straight, tail's quite lengthy. Of all the different raptors that we've talked about, and do not want to overwhelm whatsoever, I want to make it fun. Telling Cooper's hawks from sharp-shinned hawks, if that gives you an ornithological headache, that is healthy, that is normal. We are human. And these are probably two of the most single confusing, challenging raptors possibly in North America to tell apart, and they cause headaches for even hawk watching enthusiasts. But just want to show some pictures. These are all Cooper's hawks. So they're known for kind of longer, more, some people call it tubular bodied, like a Pringles can, kind of a longer torsoed look. They're definitely longer tailed. And say bigger tailed. They're longer tailed, and they tend to be longer winged than sharp-shinned hawks too. So again, little finesse stuff. Just enjoy it on the side. Don't get a headache over it. But some pointers to focus on. And then lastly, we're getting to, Paul, how do you figure out goshawk? Goshawk, they have unusually deep wing, or they have proportionally deep wings, almost like a accipiter mixed with a bootio. They have a very wide tail base, fluffy white undertail coverts, not streaked the way sharp-shinned and Cooper's hawks can be in juveniles. The plumage is a little different too, but from a structural standpoint, they're heavier bodied, barrel chested. They flap slower and soar longer. So very bootio like accipiter, if that makes sense. But yeah, good question. And then we'll do American kestrel, another absolutely dapper raptor. They are a delight to see, and especially not to take precedence over any different raptor, but if you see American kestrels, please know that is a good sign from the sake of conservation and knowing that the environment is in good standing. American kestrels are grassland specialists. They're also cavity nesters, so they require boxes that are put up. Could be a cavity in a tree or some human-provided boxes. But this is a bird that if you happen to be birding along a field that has lots of pesticides applied, and let's say every cricket, grasshopper, dragonfly is dead because of pesticides, you won't see American kestrels, possibly because they've eaten some poison food and they're no longer there, or there's just no food there to begin with for them to feed on. But if you see American kestrels year after year in certain fields, know that those are healthy grassland environments. It's a really good thing to see kestrels, and we need more of them year after year. This is the smallest falcon in North America. Beautiful in all regards, lots of patterning. Here's a male American kestrel. And you can tell that he knows he's handsome. He's got the blue wings. He also was wondering, why am I being held? That was for banding, but absolutely incredible little falcon. Pointed wings, good for hovering, going after grasshoppers that are in midair and dragonflies, even occasional small birds if they're lucky. So we have a male American kestrel on the left and a female American kestrel on the right. You're welcome, Bonnie. Nice to have you here. So notice the wing color. Look at the backside of the wing, or the upper wing on that American kestrel on the right, how she's kind of a buffy brown color. That's a female. Males have blue wings. And a little trick to share with all of you. Remember we talked about fun anecdotes for different raptor species? Let's say that you want to impress your friends and you want to say, I know if this is a male or female kestrel without looking at the color of the wings. Who here wants to know that? All right. If no one raises their hands, I would tell you anyway. So here we go. So if you look at the bottom left American kestrel, see the little white spots on the trailing edge of the wing? Those little white spots are pretty transparent. On a female American kestrel, those spots are brown. They're kind of opaque. So I'm getting at is if you see a kestrel fly over and you can't see any color, but if you see little white spots all lined up together, that's a male American kestrel. Male American kestrels have Christmas lights. I call them Christmas lights. Female American kestrels do not have Christmas lights. Well, next we have a
That's just
Merlin.
amazing. Thank you. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, you're welcome, DJ. You're most welcome. This is so fun. Next we have a Merlin. How are we doing on time? Oh yeah, we got a few more minutes
We
still.
have time. Yes, sir.
Next we have a Merlin. So this is the speedy cousin of an American kestrel. One last thing I forgot to mention too about American kestrels. We talked about behavior earlier. And with American kestrels, when they're flapping, this is the one North American raptor that flies with banana peel wing beats. So if you take a banana peel and you shake it, very fluid and slappy. Those are kestrel wing beats. Merlin, on the other hand, they fly like they're late for a date. I don't know what that's like. I'm a very prompt person in life, but if you're late for a date, you're really trying to catch up. That's how Merlins move through the air. Point A to point B. They're known for being direct and speedy. Quick, stiff wing beats. Very, very, very swift behavior. Notice how dark this bird is too. Everyone see that? Dark tail bands. Dark underwings. So here we have Merlin in flight. And the picture on the right, the Merlin was eating a dragonfly that it had caught. The dragonfly was actually migrating, and Merlin caught a migrating dragonfly, which is pretty neat to see. But Merlin are very dark. They're very stark, dark toned in all regards, kind of a slaty color on their back. Females are going to be dark chocolate brown, not slaty colored. And here's one more Merlin flying over. Notice the black bands on the tail. And much darker toned wings overall. So Merlins have an affinity with spruce trees as far as where they prefer to nest. And actually in my yard this spring, there's been a Merlin that sits on top of my backyard essentially all morning long calling. And not coincidentally, there's not a chickadee in sight when the Merlin's around. So we'll have to see how this pans out this spring. We talked about wing beats being important. Merlin on the right. They fly like they're purposeful, very late for a date. I gotta catch up, stiff wings. Kestrel on the left. Banana peel wing beats. Slappy and fluid. And last bird that we'll talk about, peregrine falcon. Fastest animal in the world. Who has seen these before?
Yes, Ian. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. They're just absolutely amazing birds. Fastest animal in the world. You can tell just by their shape alone. Being a falcon, they are built for speed. One feature that all falcons have, look at the face. That little mask that they have. They're a little more barrel-chested, kind of beefier looking than a merlin. And they'll always have a dark mask, whether it's an adult on the left with black and white complexion, white breast, or whether it's a heavily mottled or patterned bird like on the right, which is a juvenile. But look at those wings. Like even without knowing much about birds, you can get a sense this bird is built for speed, right? Because of the shape. That's that shape that we're talking about being very important. And this one was another just kind of random photo. Merlin was migrating under a peregrine for a few moments at Hawk Ridge, and it was interesting to see the weird similarity that they share. But we could tell the size difference because of how they were flying together. Just notice what you see, and again, maybe notice what you don't see with these two.
Hey, Kenda had a question on
Oh, sure.
kestrels. How about tail bands
Yeah.
on kestrels? Yeah.
Ooh, tail bands on kestrels. You know, I've kind of wondered about this. I found the tail bands to be pretty variable. Are you referring to males and females by chance?
Yes.
Ah, so this is one thing I actually haven't really got a full grasp on. Females, I believe, tend to have more bands in their tails. Males may have fewer bands, but I've heard it can be subjective too, depending on different areas of kestrels. So to be fully open with you, I've heard females tend to show more, but I don't know enough about the subject specifically. Okay, cool, Kenda, cool. Thanks for asking that, by the way. This is cool and fun to have it interactive too. All right. So now we'll do some quiz time. Quiz time. So we're going to start off with max speed of a peregrine falcon. So here, okay, so if you go on the gosh darn Google, anything now, you can Google anything and it's going to bring up a wide array of answers. Do not go to the first answer that it mentions. I've read from my understanding that they can approach 200 miles an hour. Now, on some websites, it's going to say 250. They're going to do a bigger, badder number, whatever, make it sound wilder. I don't know if that's true or not. But some of the fastest known peregrines have been clocked as falconry birds in full pursuit, like a stoop in a full pursuit of going after prey. So they don't always fly like that, but apparently they are capable of approaching 200 miles an hour, which is extraordinary. I mean, just think when we're on the highway, you drive, if you're a speed limiter 5 over guy, you might drive 70 miles an hour. That's plenty fast. And imagine going tiers faster than that just for a split second even. It's pretty amazing. So good question. So how about this one right here? And some might be easy, some might be really easy, some might be tricky. Nice. Good job, everyone. Good job, friends. Yeah, this is a bald eagle, an adult bald eagle, because it's got the white head, white tail. And remember, this bird is at least 5 years of age to look like that. Uh-oh. What's Erik doing now? How about this one right here? Awesome, everyone. We got some raptor experts in the group. This is great. Good job, everyone. This is a red-tailed hawk. Again, we have a belly band, a tagial mark, and a little bloop, 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 that little wrist comma. Those three things, good features for a juvenile red-tailed hawk. I'll give you a hint. These are not the same species. Maybe a starting point, no rush. Maybe a starting point when you're kind of narrowing it down is, do these birds look like they're built for soaring slowly and casually, or are they built for speed based on their wingtips? That can maybe give a little starting point of a clue. How about?
Must be.
Oh, you guys are awesome. Yeah, there's a American kestrel on the left. Nice, TJ. And Chelsea, nice, everyone. And on the right is a merlin. Notice how dark the underwings are. And notice the tail banding. Merlins are very dark, bold banded. Like we just talked about, kestrels are going to be much paler on the underside, possible female, with a not thick black bands. But just note the overall paleness in the underwing. Kestrel chasing, or sorry, Merlin chasing a kestrel. This picture, thank you. This picture was taken when I was a hawk counter for a few years in Cape May, which in Cape May, New Jersey, they see an unusually high concentration of falcons. Chelsea, that is very clever. I like that. Just like the wizard. That's a good one. How about this bird right here? This one's getting a little trickier. This is not a wintertime bird in Ohio. Should never be one in the winter. We got some different answers. Oh, my mom's here. This is great. Yeah, so this bird right here, this is a broad-winged hawk. And broad-winged hawk, they got some shared features of different birds. You know, osprey are going to have lots of paleness in the underwing. And rough-legged hawks are going to have some paleness in the underwing too. But notice how clean white the entire underwing is. Basically almost to the tip. Because this bird has black and white tail bands, that black trailing edge along the bowed end of the wing out to the tips, that makes this a broad-winged hawk. This is the species that I showed a picture of earlier where like hundreds of them were circling together in the kettle. This is that very common to see circling together species. Uh-oh, we got a 3 raptor picture. What's going on here? Close. This is one of the trickiest ones, by the way, too. So got some really good predictions of what these are. And there's a mix of things going on too. This is great, everyone. So let's start at the bottom and go up from there. And for several people too, we'll talk about the middle bird is actually a tricky one in particular. So bottom one, everyone knows the bottom, or can attest to the bottom one being a turkey vulture. The most massive, heavy sail-like wings, the two-toned wings where the flight feathers are pale, the body is dark. Everyone see that? They appear kind of headless or shrunken-headed when they fly. Now for the middle one. The middle one looks an awful lot like a rough-legged hawk. But rough-legged hawks aren't going to be clean white all the way through, and would be longer-tailed and shorter-winged. So what's a bird that's kind of occupies a similar niche to a bald eagle, but has a mask? They eat a lot of fish.
Osprey,
Wink, wink.
maybe.
Yeah.
Osprey,
Yep. 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 So that middle bird is an osprey. Almost eagle-like wings, not quite as boxy, but eagle-like wings. They also have what's called the carpal patch. Sorry, we didn't talk about that specifically with those two species. But carpal patch, carpal means wrist. So if you got this wrist or this wrist area on the wing, it's like a dark spot. Both osprey and rough-legged hawk have that, but these are longer winged, shorter tailed. So that's an osprey in the middle. And the top one, I'm going to help you with this one. This one was actually, it was a slight trick one. This is a peregrine falcon.
Oh, that's all.
Believe it or not, it's a peregrine falcon.
Yeah.
The wings can look very knife-like. Everyone know what I'm talking about? The knives can kind of start out flat and they kind of have that tapered edge. that elongated edge. And from a distance, nice, Gideon, nice. Top one is built for speed, Kenda. That's right. Good job, Luke. So peregrine falcons, when they're adults, fine barring through the underbelly and lots of fine gray mottling. As they get farther and farther and farther away, they're going to appear pale, not dark, but pale. And that's what you're seeing up there is that the white sheen of barely any gray barring and lightly barred underwings. This picture was taken, this was also in Cape May, actually. Yeah, most were from hawkwatches I've worked at. Yeah, this one specifically is from Cape May, Laura. This is probably the trickiest little offering that will be on the quiz. This is a messy bird too. You guys are.
I would have gone with rough-legged too.
Great job, everyone who's mentioned this is a rough-legged hawk. They're a bootio, which means the wide-winged, short-tailed raptor proportionately. Rough-leggeds, they can get kind of a sharp bend in the wing. Notice the carpal patches. We just talked about that again, kind of that wrist area or that dark blob right there. They have that. Sometimes there's light morphs, dark morphs. They even have intermediate. We don't need to worry about that. This is a really cool marked rough-legged hawk, though, just by shape alone with the carpal patches. And then lastly, oh, okay, I think we got two more. I think that's it. How about this bird right here? And as a little brief recap, as we're going through this, think of how this bird would fly if you saw it. Would it be eagle-like or would it be fluttery? Flap, 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 glide, flap, 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 glide. All of you are doing so good. This is awesome. This is a sharp-shinned hawk. Squared off tail. Kind of a cute shrunken in head. Stocky wings, good for flap, 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 glide. Flap, 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 glide. Little bursts of flaps and glides. Awesome, awesome. This is a red-tailed hawk. Belly band, patagial mark, wrist comma. And something to note, see how neat patterning or like coloration this bird has in the breast and the underwings. Like I said, this is how how many of the red-tailed hawks can look when they come through northern Minnesota. They just barely make it to Ohio, but something cool just to show again how variable they are in different parts of their range. And then, oh, okay, sorry, I forgot. When we got eagles, and then we're done. Yeah. You'll get him, TJ. You'll get him. I know you will. Yep, this is a juvenile golden eagle. Remember we talked about the curviness of the wings tapering into the wing pit?
Yep.
And they can have a lot of white in the hand area and a lot of white in the tail as well. And then last, oh, there we go. And how about these two birds flying next to each other? Last picture, two birds. Awesome. Awesome job, everyone. Yep. Adult bald eagle on top. And as a younger bald eagle, immature on the bottom is a bald eagle. Got a little bit of white in the wing pits, lots of white mottling in the shoulder areas, which golden eagles don't show. What's the way to put it? It's a beautifully messy bird, if you know what I mean. Beautifully messy bird. All right. So with all my talks I've given over the years, different presenters have different ways of concluding. And I'm a firm believer in there needs to be a message. And I'm very grateful that all of you spent this talk with me this afternoon. I'm very, very thankful for that. And I do need to do some shout outs. First of all, from the upper left going around, there's going to be a lot of birds migrating through our own backyards. And every year it's well above the hundreds of thousands of birds that lose their lives because of window collisions. Much of their migration happens at night. And if you turn off your lights at night, you are eliminating the chance of birds being confused by lights in your house with the stars overhead. A lot of songbirds migrate using the stars overhead. And there's nationwide programs called Lights Out. So just saying, starting now all the way through the end of May, one of the greatest spectacles in life is going to be happening right around the Great Lakes, and that's migration. If you turn your lights out at night, you are making a difference. A big kudos and shout out to Friends of Ottawa for hosting again. Just delighted to be here and support them if you can. Whenever I go to the big birding festival called the Biggest Week, I always go to their shop, and I do a lot of my family birthday and Christmas shopping at their little shop there. It's a good place. In the upper right, if you're a coffee drinker like myself, for just a few dollars more, there's what's called bird friendly coffee. It's organically grown, shade grown, fair trade certified, and different brands of it are available. This is American Birding Association coffee in the upper right. And if you choose coffee like that, you're helping birds that are going to be maybe in our backyards in the summer, but wintering in the tropics. And if they winter in coffee plantations, you're helping not only temporary birds that are there, but the year-round tropical birds too. So you can make a difference by choosing bird-friendly coffee. With this being a hawk talk, I got my hawk watching roots at Hawk Ridge, my local hawk watch here. Some of my dearest friends in the world and inspirations are part of Black Swan Bird Observatory, so a little plug out for them too, right next door. And then lastly, one of my favorite birds in the whole world is the American robin. Yes, they're a dime a dozen. Yes, they've already been through in the spring and all. But like you can see in this picture, if you plant some native landscaping in your yard, you make a bigger difference than you probably realize for a lot of animals in your yard. Could be birds, butterflies, bees, a whole bunch of things. But just saying, of these conservation little side topics, if you have some native plants of any sort, big or small, you are contributing to a safe environment for birds. So, and then lastly, there's a bunch of raptor books out there. If you're looking to get into raptors, one of my dearest friends and kind of inspirations years ago, he wrote this book called Hawks from Every Angle by Jerry Lagori. It's a gem of a resource, and it talks about birds in flight or raptors in flight from all different angles in a relatively toned down manner where it's not overwhelming. It's a really cool resource. So if you're looking to do more learning outside of this talk, visit some hawkwatches, check out the book. It's a cool experience to be out raptor watching, and just want to say thank you again all for being here tonight.
Thank you. We had one question. Which raptor is your favorite? Gideon is asking.
Let's see here. Which
is your favorite raptor?
Oh my. Oh, I don't know. Well, that's oh boy, this is a tough one. The red-tailed hawks, again, they're all over. Some people even say they're a dime a dozen. I think they're really cool in that they do move around. Their variation is beautiful, but then each raptor is beautiful in their own way. So yeah. Gemma loves birds. Ooh, that's great.
Yeah,
Age 6.
Yeah. No, Eric, thank you so much. It was like pleasure. The session was so interactive. I think everybody enjoyed it. We had such a good attendance. And so much wonderful questions. Everybody had good input, and would love to do another session with you. And I would love to meet you once you are here. If you're planning to come this year to the Biggest Week.
Oh yeah, I'll be there multiple talks. I'm already signed up for a bunch of field trips, and I think on on a 1 or 2 day off, I'll definitely be stopping by Ottawa National Wildlife Refuge and would love to say hi and meet you. So
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Yeah. And we truly
Yeah.
appreciate, you supporting the refuge, the message at the end, some very good tips on identifying the raptors. So it's a really fun session. Yeah.
Thank you. It was
Thank
fun
you.
to spend the evening with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great time. Yeah. Good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Yeah. Bye bye.
Good birding.
Thank you.